but he was testifying in relation to the events and incident relating to Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Department. And today it is not a continuation of that. He comes under a completely separate stream, which is what we refer as the Tshwane Metropolitan Police Department. He has since retired, and it was recorded then when he came before the commission that, in fact, when he testified before this commission in November, already he had retired from EMPD and now deployed by the TMPD.
February 2025, I think.
That is correct.
Yes.
And he started the SAT on the 2nd of March.
March
2025.
2025.
Yes, so just so that we are clear that it's not a continuation. We try to label his annexures as well to avoid any sort of confusion as to that testimony. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Musigiri. I've forgotten now whether you saw or you affirmed.
Sworn, Commissioner.
Do you swear that the evidence you are going to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Commissioner Spies. Again, could you just formally put your name on record?
My full name is Revo Spies.
Thank you. Commissioner, you will see that you should have before you 4 white files. There should be 2 big ones and 2 small files. Can you confirm that?
Correct, Commissioner.
Thank you. Before we deal with the contents of those files, can you confirm that you have prepared a statement and submitted one to this commission so that it can be used in your testimony?
Correct. I have prepared a statement relating to the Tshwane Metro Police portion, and I have submitted it.
Thank you. May we then go to file 1 of 4? It's one of the smaller files. And you will see on the index there, it lists a document, statement of Revo Spies. Do you see that, Commissioner Spies?
Correct.
And then you will see that if you flip over, and the last page to that document will be page 19.
That's correct.
Do you see that? Do you confirm that this is your statement that you submitted for consideration by the Commission?
Yes, I confirm that that is my statement.
Is your copy signed, Commissioner? And what about yours, Mr. Musigiri?
Yes.
Ours are not.
Yes, Chair, that's the next question that I want to put to the witness. The statements to answer you, Chair, they are not signed.
Yes.
And I want to put to the Commissioner, is this a statement that you intend on signing as reasonably as possible, confirming the contents of that statement?
Correct. I've signed my own version, but mine is at home. But the bundle version, I'm prepared to sign them now as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. And lastly, you confirm the correctness of your statement there too.
I confirm the correctness thereof.
Thank you. Can we then go to the actual statement? You will see that from paragraph 1 to 6, you deal with the introduction and the education and career background. Could you perhaps read these contents into the record, and just highlighting your history of service as set out in these paragraphs?
May I just intervene and ask, Commissioner, besides you joining Tshwane Metropolitan, or rather the Tshwane Metropolitan Police Department, is there anything new to what you would have given us when you testified earlier?
New in terms of my previous testimony.
I'm saying in addition to what you already told us about your career advancement or progression,
No.
besides your move to Tshwane, is there anything else that is new?
No, Commissioners, maybe just a misconception that it could be a misconception, but I officially retired.
No.
And then I started, but
there.
there's nothing else in my career
I'm
that
not-
changed.
I'm not there at all. I'm just trying to say perhaps we don't need to go over this because we already have your details.
It's exactly the same.
Yes, I think you can then proceed to 6 years, to paragraph 6.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes.
Then you will see Commissioner Spies under paragraph 6. The heading there will be the responsibilities that you have now at TMPD. Can you deal with that together with paragraph 7 there too?
Correct. Commissioners, I've been appointed in the City of Tshwane Metro Police from the 1st of March as the Deputy Chief of Police for Asset Protection and Security Services. It's a division within the Metro Police and serves under the Chief of Police, Commissioner Yolanda Faro. My main functions and responsibilities is to exercise control over this division, and in this division itself, I am accountable for the physical security and technical systems, the operational support around the technical systems and the physical security, and then physical guard services. The difference between 6.1 and 6.3 when we deal with physical security is that we operate a hybrid system, meaning that we have in-house security, which is on the payroll of the city. It is security officers employed by the city. There are 1,270 of those guards, and then there's a contracted portion, which is to 22 service providers, which I will deal with later. That is contracted services who's deployed through the 7 regions. Part of this division, that contracted services, there is a tender in place with the number TMPD 02 2016-2017. And I do understand that this falls within the Commission's subject matter, and it deals with the physical guarding of the city where it's contracted services. That tender itself, as the number indicate, obviously originate from the 2016-27 municipal financial year. So when I testify about that tender, it's about the historical context of it, what I've determined and learned in my 1 year, I've just over a year's service now.
Thank you, Commissioner Spies. Perhaps I should bring to your attention that in the past 3 days of the commission, we had Sergeant Nkosi testifying and touching base on some of the tenders that form an integral part of your testimony. So the commissioners at least have been part informed of the issues relating to those tenders, and they might want to interrupt and ask you questions as they understood it, the terms of those tenders during the testimony of Sergeant Nkosi. But I'm not limiting you to what you would like to share with the commission when it comes to these tenders, but just take heed of that caution. Can we then, with that said...
Just before you move to the next section, Commissioner Spies, Chair asked you if there was anything you wanted to add since your last testimony. Your testimony focused on your stint as a Deputy Chief of Police at Ekurhuleni. I just want to understand, at Tshwane, are you on contract? So is it a 3-year contract? What exactly is the situation as far as your employment is concerned?
No, Commissioner. At Ekurhuleni, I was appointed as a Section 56 contract employee for a period of 5 years, which I took early retirement.
Yes.
However, in August 2022, a new government gazette was regulated where only employees that directly report to the city manager as accounting officer is considered or deemed to be Section 56. So when I was appointed in the city of Tshwane, I was appointed as a permanent employee till I reached the compulsory retirement age of 65 years. So I'm now a permanent employee with a performance contract, but not with an employment fixed-term contract.
So it's not a 5-year situation that existed
No, it's not that. It's a permanent contract that I've been employed with until I reach the retirement compulsory age of 65.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Commissioner Spies, can we then speak to the contents of paragraph 8 and 9 of your statement?
Commissioners, the tender TMPD 2 2016-2017, that is for the supply of physical security to protect the property assets and the personnel of Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality. This tender originates from what we call a TAR. It's a tender advertisement request form, which was issued at that stage in 2016-20 by a director, Chukudu Malachi. He was the director of the protection services, and this TAR was issued on 8 July 2016. At that stage, it was co-signed by the then Deputy Chief of Police, Specialized Services, Mr. R.R. Mashlaule. And on 19 July 2016, this was approved by the then Chief of Police, Mr. K.S. Nkubeni. I'm also attaching that specific TAR as RS21 as a reference.
Thank you. Chair, you will see that the witness is referring to RS21. However, Chair, the way I intend dealing with some of these annexures is that because the tender was adjudicated years ago, it is not necessary for us to dwell into that and also consider what irregularities might or might not have occurred. We don't think it's relevant. However, when we come to the most relevant annexures, I will take the witness there, Chair. With that said, Mr. Commissioner Spies, I would still, Chair, though, insist that some of the names that appear, especially from different tender committees, be mentioned because they become relevant at a later stage. Thank you, Chair. Then, Commissioner Spies, can we then pick it up from paragraph 10 of your statement?
In the original TAR, there was a proposed bid specification committee which the department then proposed, which stated that these members are Director Racheku, Director N. Musa, Commissioners Sibaya, Mr. Faik Alexander, and Mr. Peter Robinson. However, when these bid specifications were serving at the initial bid specification committee on Monday, 1 September, the committee members that actually did the BSc, it was not the same as the bid specification committee nominations. So the members in paragraph 11 then is the actual members who approved the bid specification of this tender. And they were Mr. Kes Matlapeng, he was a director at the Tshwane Metro Police, he was the chairperson. Mr. Vusi Nkuna, which is indicated as the Director Land Invasion, Mr. Sipu Nkomo, Director Tshwane Metro Police, and Mr. Faik Alexander, who's from Supply Chain Management, is Director Secretariat Services, and then Mr. Peter Robinson, Group Legal Deputy Director for the Corporate and Council Legal Compliance.
I assume, Commissioner, that everything you tell us in connection with this tender before you joined TMPD's information gleaned from documents or records within the Tshwane Metro.
Correct, Commissioner. The names that is here is obviously, as I was appointed, I started to collect the tender, the award letters, the bid specification committee, so that I do understand the tender that we currently are operating under. So when I read these names, it is from bid specification committees, agendas, and minutes that I read the names.
All right.
I obviously, some of the names I do know because they still work for the department. Some of the names, I don't know them at all.
Just names, you don't know the people. All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Masigidi.
Thank you, Chair. You may continue. Commissioner, I think you were at paragraph 12, now you're
12.
approaching there. Yes.
part of the process of a bid specification committee and all the committees thereafter, bid specification, the bid evaluation, and the bid award committee, is that every member must sign and make under oath a declaration that they have no interest in the tender. So all of the declarations is then in a reference RS23, a bundle where all the declarations are as combined as one bundle or one reference. This tender was advertised on 30 September 2016, and then it was eventually evaluated by 2 bid evaluation committees. And I'll deal later with why 2 bid evaluation committees. But the first bid evaluation committee was a Mr. Moloko Racheku, who was the chairperson, Mr. Chukudu Malachi, Mr. Vusi Nkuna, Mr. Malusi Mashlanga, and Mr. Murutsi Mpashlele. So, and this is why I say I've read the documents. It's not that I do have personal knowledge of this, because there seem to have been irregularities with the first bid evaluation process, because on 24 January 2017, a report was submitted to the Executive Adjudication Committee by Mr. Tembeka Mpefu, in which irregularities during the first BEC were detected. It was then recommended that the entire process be restarted. And in this regard, I've attached that actual letter as well from Mr. Mpefu. In that report, it stated that this first BEC committee, as in paragraph 14, they removed all the bid documents of all the tenderers from the supply chain management premises to an unknown venue at Premos. Premos to us is the Tshwane Leadership Academy in Pretoria West. And later, when they finished with the evaluation, they returned the documents, and then there were missing documents, which makes it an irregularity. And at that same time, he also stated that one of the BEC supply chain members resigned from the BEC due to irregularities he experienced. And that is from Mr. Mpefu's report that he submitted to the Executive Adjudication Committee, with a request that this tender be cancelled and restarted.
Mr. Moloko Racheku in 14.1, is it the same person as Director Racheku in 10.1?
Correct. And then obviously the decision was made at the bid adjudication that this tender be cancelled and start afresh because of irregularities that was mentioned in it. However, one of the bidders, Lebele Lang Mashlatsi Trading Pty Ltd, they approached the High Court in Gauteng with a case number of 32325 of 2017. And Justice Fabricius on 24 May 2018 directed that this tender may not be cancelled, it must be re-evaluated afresh, and the same order of the Justice Fabricius also extended the validity of this procurement process by another 90 days. In compliance with this order, a second BEC committee was then appointed to evaluate the tender afresh. This 90-day period is that when a tender is advertised, it normally will have an initial 90-day period that it must be concluded within. So this period is obviously been passed, and that's why the judge then made the ruling that that period be extended to start the process afresh for evaluation only. And then the second BEC committee members which were then appointed was a Mr. Chris Tipe, who was the chairperson, and he was the divisional head of Treasury Department. Mr. Mtubeli Kolisa, he was the group head of Environment and Agriculture Management. Mrs. Verusha Morgan, who was the group head Property. Mr. Kwena Nkoko, group head Health. Mrs. Nosipu Slachwayo, the group head of City Strategies and Organizational Performance. And a Pamela Rakulele Ngabutle, who was the deputy director Demand in Supply Chain Management. This committee, after evaluation, it appears that they again resolved that the tender be cancelled due to irregularities during the bid evaluation process, still linked to the original missing tender documents, which were deemed to be highly irregular. And at that stage, the group of 22 companies that were originally proposed to be awarded the tender approached the court again. And then a Ladyship Justice Molopo Setosa issued a court ruling on 22 October 2021 that the tender be awarded to the 22 companies, and the city must enter into a service level agreement with this list of companies. And for that matter, it is listed the court ruling as RS25. And then based on that court ruling, the city drafted the SLAs, and the tender then officially commenced on 1 March 2022 with this list of 22 companies that was awarded in the ruling by the court.
Commissioner, would you please look at file 4? I want you to read the contents of Annexure RS25 into the record. So it will be this, it's a smaller file. It's file 4 of 4, and then I refer you to page 945.
I confirm that that is the court order that was issued by Her Ladyship Justice Molopo Setosa.
Yes, can you just read at least the first paragraph on that page? So paragraph 1, it actually spills over to the second page.
Sorry, must I read the order into the record?
Yes, please.
By agreement between the parties, it is ordered that 1, the respondent's decision to cancel tender TMPD 02 2016-17 is substituted with the following decision. 1.1, tender TMPD 02 2016-17 is awarded to the applicant and such other bidders who 1.1.1 were recommended for the supply of physical guarding services to protect council property and personnel of the City of Tshwane for a period of 3 years at variable amounts as reflected in paragraph 20 of the report of the Bid Evaluation Committee at page 003-93 of the case lines record, and 1.12 are registered with the Private Security Industry Regulation Authority as at the date of this order. 2, the respondent is ordered to conclude service level agreements with the aforesaid bidders, which agreement shall detail the agreed services to be delivered, how such a service is measured in the provision thereof, and the response time required for such a service. The respondent is ordered to pay the applicant's cost, save that the cost of the day in respect of 21 October 21 will be taxed on the unopposed scale.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just to be clear, okay.
Before you move on. Morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
In that paragraph 19, the very last line where you say the council then started the tender on March 2022, paragraph 19 of your statement,
Yes, Commissioner.
when you say it started the tender, you mean implementation
Correct,
of
Commissioner.
that tender, not a new tender process.
No. It's because of the court order on 22 October, it took a while for the corporate and legal to design and create the service level agreements. And then the service level agreements and the contracts and everything was only completed in February 2022, and the tender then commenced 1 March 2022.
Okay, thank you.
So because the tender was at 2017, 2016, that year, I think, going into the next year, 16, 17, if it was delayed for what looks like 4 or 5 years, does it mean the previous service providers had their contracts extended on a month-to-month basis?
Before this tender?
Yes. What happened
Correct.
between 2017 and 2022 when this tender was restarted, as you say on paragraph 19?
Correct, Commissioner. There was a tender in place with a group of service providers. And when this tender process was initiated, it was obviously to replace that previous tender. And when the first court interdicts and rulings started, those tenders were extended on a month-to-month basis up to February 2022. So effectively at 28th of February 2022, those tenders then were completed, and on 1 March 22, this 2016-2017 tender actually commenced.
Commissioner, you say that the tender was eventually awarded after a second approach to the High Court to 22 companies that were originally proposed to be awarded the tender. I've been going through this back and forth. I don't see where it was proposed that the tender be awarded to the 22 companies.
Commissioner, in the BEC committee's minutes
Yes.
that they submitted to the BAC, the Bid Award Committee,
Yes.
in that report, there was a total evaluation of 22 companies.
Yes.
And they did the complete evaluation. And that 22 companies have been in the BEC the whole time. But when it was then submitted, the whole report about that 22 companies was submitted to the BAC with a recommendation that that whole process must be stopped and cancelled. So it was not awarded to the 22 through the city's actions. The whole way, even though they were evaluated, and there were 22 companies that was deemed to be by the BEC successful, that report continuously then stated, but there's missing documents, there's irregularities. And therefore, when it got to the BAC took that in consideration and said, but there's missing documents, it's highly irregular and it should be cancelled. The then chairperson of the BAC was a previous CFO of the city, Umar Banda, and he signed off and said it must be cancelled due to irregularities. However, Judge Fabricius, very narrowly in the first court order, and I'm not obviously saying, I've got an ethical response, but I'm not saying the judge was wrong. The judge did the legal correct thing, when he stated that the then legislation had a very narrow portion that you can cancel a tender with. And the words irregular or missing was not in that wording. So he ruled that you cannot use that to cancel the tender. That's why it must be started afresh. And obviously today with hindsight, when you hear the word irregular in my head, it should be cancelled immediately. We shouldn't proceed. And then in the second BEC, they took the same report, the same companies, and stated these were the most successful companies in the evaluation, but due to these missing documents, it is still an irregularity and we must be cancelled. And the chairperson again, Mr. Banda, again said, no, it must be cancelled because of this irregularity. And that's when the 22 companies, because the city, I don't know how it got out, but everyone leaked most probably the information, and then the 22 companies knew that they were deemed by the BEC to be successful, but they took then the decision to court to say, no, but we are successful, and that's when the court then made the ruling to say that those 22 companies we initially were must be awarded the tender.
Thank you for the clarification. I guess what confused me was the fact that it appears, both from what I read here and from what you say now, that there was never a pronouncement by the bid adjudication committee that there's going to be an award to the 22 companies. So that's why it sort of sounded odd, and indeed it is odd that there was then an award to the 22 companies, despite the fact that the bid adjudication committee never pronounced that that should be the position. But I just wanted clarity, yeah. Thank you.
Great.
Yes, Mr. Musigiri?
Thank you, Chair. And also to be fair to the court, that agreement, or at least that court order, seems to be, it's by agreement between the parties anyway.
Correct.
Thank you, Commissioner Spies. Can we then pick it up at paragraph 20, where we deal with these companies?
So the list of 22 companies that was then awarded and commenced on the 1st of March 2022, and to date is still working under this contract, is Gubi's 85 Solutions Pty Ltd, Izingwenya 210 Investment CC, Triotic Protection Services CC, Batlukumedi Management Services, both Best Trading and Projects, Ilutsaki Construction and Cleaning Enterprise, Hotline Security Services, Lebele Lang Mashlatsi Trading, Lejani Trading Enterprise, Mabotwana Security Services, Marumu Maepe Cleaning, Security and Civil Construction, Mogalakhari Security, NEP Security Services, Piri Piri Trading Enterprise, Rahite Security and Consulting, Ramalepe Security and Cleaning Services, Seputwe Trading Enterprise, Skets Projects, Sukol Renting and Construction, Takana Limpopo, Flopanang Business Enterprises, and Vugi Protection Services. And this tender, which then commenced on the 1st of March 2022, as per the prescripts of the MFMA Act, 3-year period, then concluded on the 28th of February 25 as a contract at that stage.
Chair, I would request that the commissioners perhaps highlight the first 3 companies on that list. These are the companies that will be forming the subject matter of our discussion. The chair would have also noticed from the previous evidence of Sergeant Ngosi that at least 2 of those 3 companies were canvassed with him, and we sample those 3 in the TMPD stream and also try to draw a linkage with the terms of reference, especially where there is a suspicion of interference by syndicate or so-called cartels. So those 3 names on top will be the one that will feature quite often in this stream of TMPD.
So the first 3, namely Gubis 85 Solutions, Izingwenya 210 Investments, Triotic Protection Services.
Indeed, there might be that we pick 1 or 2, but after that, but these are the 3 that there will be a common feature through the TMPD.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, can I just add that I'm not placing them in that order automatically. I actually use the alphabetical order of the names. It's accidental that they are at the top.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Noted, Commissioner Spies. Can we then proceed? We deal with a separate topic. Perhaps, if before we go there, please deal with paragraph 21 before we go to the new topic.
So I did mention that is that the contract is awarded for a period of 3 years as per the Municipal Finance Management Act, and because it commenced the 1st of March 2022, the end date will then be 28 February 2025, which is that 3-year period. So this contract then came to an end on that date, but obviously we're still under it, and I will explain now in my next portion why the tender has been extended and why it's still ongoing.
Yes, no, thank you. And that will speak to the question that was raised by Commissioner Khumalo earlier on to say what happens when one contract expires and probably the processes that are required to extend. Can we then deal with that, Commissioner Spies? Thank you.
So in this specific, and I think I deal later with it as well, where I just was stated that this specific division that I'm in charge of was created and started on the structure 1 July 2024. The asset protection unit was then moved from the city manager's office to the Metro Police in the new division. It was originally a unit and it's now a division, asset protection and security services. So in 1 July 2024, when this unit was moved over to Tshwane Metro Police as a division, it was discovered that this tender would expire in 28 February 2025. So a new process to replace this existing tender was initiated already in August, internally in the department, but at November 2024, this tender was then registered with a contract number of TMPD 32425, and that started with the process where it was BSC advertised, and the closing date was in the middle of February. So it has not yet been concluded by 28 February. So because the closing date of the bid itself was in the middle of February, there was not enough time to go through the bid evaluation process. There were a huge amount of bidders that submitted documents. So the bid evaluation process and the BAC process could not be concluded in time. So a report was then submitted to the BAC before the tender expired. And this report was then to extend the original tender to 2016-2017. And it was submitted to the BAC inter alia by Deputy Commissioner Umashi Dlamini from the Tshwane Metro Police. And then it was approved by the then chairperson of the BAC, Mr. Gareth Manisi, on the 27th of February 25. And it was final signed off by the accounting officer on the 28th of February to extend the tender for a period of 4 months till the 30th of June 2025 to give time for the new tender 324-25 to be evaluated and to be concluded and awarded.
Commissioner Spies, can I just understand in that paragraph 23, where you say that it was approved by the extension was approved by the chairperson of the BAC, how does it work? Is it not the committee that approves the extension? The way you've said it here, it seems like it's an individual, and the individual being the chairperson.
Commissioner, it is a committee, so the report is presented by the department to the committee. The committee does obviously discuss the matter between themselves, and then it's recommended, and the chairperson of the committee signs off on the report as a recommendation to the accounting officer, and then the accounting officer sign off based on the recommendation from the chairperson.
So it's a decision of the committee?
Correct, Commissioner.
Right, thank you.
Commissioner Spies, perhaps to give context to the clarity-seeking question by Commissioner Baloyi, could you go to the actual minute of the BAC? It will be on the smaller file. It will be file 4 of 4.
Sorry, which number?
945.
There was one minor issue I wanted to raise earlier, but I forgot. It took me a bit of time to find 945 uppercase A, because I was expecting it to be after 945. You know, for example, even with legislation, including subordinate legislation, the uppercase A or B, whatever the letter may be, usually signifies an insertion. And if it's 945, then the A will be indicating that it's an insertion after 945. So in the end, I was shown by Commissioner Kumalo where 945A is, because I was looking at the wrong place. That's just for the future.
I accept that, Chair.
Yes,
and
yes.
I think it is an insertion while trying to sort out the
Yes.
bundle, as it were, but you're quite correct.
No problem.
We should have mentioned the capital A.
Yes.
So now we deal with 945 with no